Okay, we want to talk about parabolas. The intersection of a plane with an infinite cone as pictured is a parabola. So in essence, if we take a cone and take a plane and slice it at a certain angle, the shape that's going to be produced is going to be a parabola. A parabola has the characteristic shape shown above. A parabola is defined to be the set of points the same distance from a point and a line. Now, a parabola can open one of four ways. It can open upward, or it can open downward. Now, if it opens upward or downward, it is considered to be a vertical parabola. So a vertical parabola will either open upward or downward. If it opens to the left or if it opens to the right, it is considered a horizontal parabola. So we have two orientations here. If it opens upward or downward, it is called a vertical parabola. If it opens to the left or to the right, it is called a horizontal parabola. Some of the properties of a parabola. First of all, this is the equation of a parabola. F of x is equal to a times the quantity x minus h squared plus k. This is the equation of a parabola in function notation, but in standard form. The vertex of a parabola is going to be at hk. So the vertex is this yellow point here, and that is going to be called the vertex, as I said earlier. Now, something interesting about the vertex is going to be that h is going to be the opposite sign as what it is in formula, and k is going to be the same sign. So h is going to be the opposite of whatever the sign is in formula, and k is going to be the same as the sign in formula. A parabola is symmetric about a line of symmetry. That line of symmetry will occur at x equal to h. So in essence, it is a vertical line that passes through the vertex. So the line of symmetry is going to be a vertical line that passes through the vertex. Now, the A tells us a couple of things, but one of the things we want to focus in now is that if A is positive, it's going to tell us that the parabola opens upward. So if A is positive, that tells us that the parabola opens upward, and the vertex is going to be where we find the minimum value. So K of the vertex, remember the vertex is HK, K is going to be the minimum value, meaning the lowest value in the parabola. The domain is going to go from negative infinity to positive infinity. But the range is going to go from the k value to positive infinity. And so that's important. If the parabola opens upward, then the range goes from the k value to positive infinity. Now, if the parabola opens downward, that means A is negative. So if A is negative, the parabola is going to open downward. The k value in this case is going to be a maximum value. So the highest value that we can, or the highest point that we can go to in the parabola is going to be at k. And so that's going to be the maximum value. The domain is going to be negative infinity to positive infinity. But the range is going to go from negative infinity to the k value of the vertex. Now, what we need to note is that the domain, whether it opens upward or downward, the domain will always be negative infinity to positive infinity. What's going to change is the range. If it opens upward, then the range goes from the k value to positive infinity. And if it opens downward, it goes from negative infinity to the k value. So let's practice the information that we've just talked about. Here, our first function, f of x, is equal to 2 times the quantity x minus 4 squared plus 3. The vertex of this parabola is going to be at 4 and 3. Remember, h is going to be the opposite of the sign in formula, and k is going to be the same as the sign in formula. And our next one, the vertex is going to be at minus 1, minus 2. The next one, the vertex is 1, negative 3. And this next one, the vertex is at 4, 0. Now notice we don't have a plus or minus a number on the outside of the quantity squared. So the assumption here is that the vertex is going to be at 4 and 0. The next one, notice that we have x squared, so that means we don't have a quantity in this case. And so we assume that the value within inside the parentheses, if we had parentheses, would be 0. And so the h coordinate is 0 and the k value is 3. And then the last one, our vertex is going to be at 0, 0. Okay, now let's look at which way the parabola is going to open. In the first case, A is a positive 2, so that means it's going to open upward. In the second case, A is a negative 1/2, so that means it's going to open downward. And in the next one, there is not a number in front of the quantity squared, and it's assumed that if we had a number in front of that, it would be 1. So this one would open upward, or positive 1. And then the next one we have 1/2. So it opens upward as well. Then the next one we have negative 2, so it opens downward. And then the last one, we make the assumption that there is the number 1 in front of there, and so it opens upward. Now, as we stated earlier, the domain for each of these is going to be the same. The domain is going to be from negative infinity to positive infinity for each of these. However, the range is going to change. The range, because this parabola opens upward, will go from the k value, which in this case would be 3, to positive infinity. In the next case, because it opens downward, it would come from negative infinity to the k value, and the k value in this case is negative 2. In the next case, it opens upward, so it's going to go from the k value, which is negative 3, to positive infinity. Likewise, in the next case, it opens upward, so it's going to go from the k value, which is 0, to positive infinity. And then the next one opens downward, so it comes from negative infinity to the k value, and the k value in this case is going to be 3. And then the last case, it opens upward, so it goes from 0, which is the k value, to positive infinity. So this is very fundamental characteristics and things that you should know, things that you can get from the equation of a parabola.